ever wake up in the middle of the night with the coolest idea and you just have to draw it? So instead of sleeping, you decide to get out of bed and run over to your desk to grab your pencil and your sketchbook. And then you head over to YouTube for some inspiration or guidance because you can learn to draw anything on the internet. But only to find that there are millions of videos that you could watch. It's hard to figure out where to even start. This is the kicker of learning how to draw online. There is a crap ton of information out there and a lot of it is amazing, but it's hard to put it into any kind of curriculum. So this is that video. And today I'll be explaining the topics that I would learn for drawing in order and if I was starting completely from scratch. Also, at the end of this video, I'll be giving you a little update because if you haven't noticed, I haven't uploaded in a while and y'all deserve to know why. Also, full disclaimer, this video will not be teaching the concepts that we go over because that video would be very long and it would probably end up like some boring lecture that no one wants to watch. So in order to make this video a little bit more comprehensive, I've broken this down into levels. So like starting from a drawing level 0 and going all the way to level 8. Let's get started. So level 0, this is the beginning of your drawing adventure. You either want to learn how to draw because you were inspired by your favorite anime show and you want to draw your favorite characters, or you secretly found out if you knew how to draw, you could impress people and your coolness factor instantly goes up a few points. This is exactly why I learned how to do the moonwalk, by the way. But if any of y'all are young watching or you have a few learned skills in life, drawing is probably one, if not the best skill to learn as your first life skill. And yes, I say life skill because it does in fact drastically impact your life in many different ways that it makes it easier to learn more skills later in life. And this is because drawing is physical, communicative, cognitive, and observational. For example, if you know how to use your hand and to hold a pencil to draw anything that you want, you can apply the same method to learn how to move any part in your body. And it's probably going to be 10 times easier and faster because you already did it with your hand. So really think of drawing as one of those gateway skills that really opens up more possibilities for your life. So starting at level 0, this is where you'll be learning the very basics of how to draw, like how to hold your pencil, how to move your arm so that you don't sustain any wrist injuries. But most importantly, at this level, you'll be focusing on how to make a line. And from my experience, the best way to improve your line work at level 0 is tracing. Now, most of y'all are probably throwing arms because you think tracing is bad. And I would tell you to suck it because tracing is literally the best, okay? And I still trace to this day as a professional artist who has worked on indie games and commercial projects. So if I can do it, you can do it. Anyways, if you are at level 0, trace everything. This is because at this level, you are learning how to move your hand and how to make crispy lines. And tracing is the quickest and easiest way to learn both of these two things. Later in this level, you should start moving towards copying instead of tracing. So now instead of just like straight up tracing an image, you're full on plagiarizing an image. But I wouldn't be too worried about it as long as you don't post it online because that would be cringe. So really embrace becoming a plagiaristic animal at this level. Okay, now moving on to level 1. This is a level where your friends think you're a good drawer and you start picking up those how to draw books. Because now you've gotten that sweet taste of drawing and your eyes have opened up to all the possibilities of you can draw anything. But you still suck. So that's why you're reading those how to draw books and watching a crap ton of drawing tutorials. So at level 1, this is where you're going to start training your eye. You're going to start comparing to where things are located on your reference to other parts that are on your reference. For example, say you were drawing a face, you would be comparing like how far the eyes are compared to like the top of the head. One trick that will really help improve your eye and is called the string measuring technique. But pretty much this technique in a nutshell is taking a string or a pencil and just measuring your reference and then putting it on your page and measuring where it goes. So you're just doing it into here. Yeah, pretty easy, pretty simple, helps you figure out where things are. The next thing you want to work on at this level is copying a reference by breaking down the basic shapes. I recommend by first copying with the shapes from your reference and then going back and tracing and then seeing how far you're off. This is also a level where you will get into the basics of perspective. This would just include the horizon line and vanishing points 1, 2, and 3. You will know when you're ready to move on to level 2 when you're able to put a box or a cylinder in a 3-point perspective. Now at level 2, you will start gaining more confidence in your drawing abilities because now you are pretty darn good at copying any anime character your heart desires. And now all of your friends want fan art from you so that they can do who knows what's with it. But you still got a long way to go because you are only at level 2. So this stage of your journey is similar to what you'd be doing at level 1, just a lot more hardcore. First and most importantly, at this level, you will be learning the very basics of anatomy. Now, you might think that you know how to draw anatomy because you can copy your favorite anime characters pretty darn good. But what if you wanted to draw that same character but in a different pose that you can't trace or copy? Would you know how to do that if you didn't have a reference? Be honest with yourself. It would probably look like doo-doo. And this is exactly why at level 2 you'll be learning the very basics of anatomy. Specifically proportion, like how many heads stacked on top of each other make up the height for male or female characters. You will also learn facial proportions, like where do the eyeballs go compared to where the nose goes. That rhymed. You will also learn the general differences between male and female bodies and faces. And the last thing for anatomy basics are like the basic shapes for like the hands, the arms, the legs, and the feet. And maybe the torso. Actually, definitely the torso. Now, you might be thinking, oh, I prefer to draw animals over humans. And that's a valid preference, but very bad for you in order to learn proportions and anatomy. And this is because human anatomy is the quickest and easiest way to learn anatomy in general. It's because you yourself are human, so you can observe all of the anatomy and proportions based off your own body. So like you can look in the mirror and measure how far your lips are compared to your chin. And once you get to advanced human anatomy, it's going to be way easier to do animal anatomy because now you've gotten the basics down, so you can draw anything at that point. So just focus on the human anatomy first and then you can learn the animal anatomy, okay? The next thing you'll focus on at this level is copying and breaking down complex subjects. This is the more hardcore version of what you were doing at level 1, but instead of using just your basic shapes, you're now turning those shapes into 3D shapes with all of the perspective and shapeness included. Another thing at this level is you will learn how to use a grid to copy your reference image onto like a bigger piece of paper or something like that. And the last thing you will have to have mastered before moving on to level 3 is line weight. So like thick lines versus thin lines, how to make dynamic drawings while using line weight, and how to push parts of your drawing forward and move parts back using line weight. Now we move on to level 3, and this is where people outside of your close friends and family start to notice that you actually have some skills and they consider it impressive. And your coolness factor goes up a couple points because people are starting to notice you. But do not let that get to your head because you are only at level 3 and you got a long way to go. So at level 3, this is where you'll be diving headfirst into advanced perspective. This includes how to rotate a 3D object at different angles and at different perspectives. You will also learn the basics of foreshortening and 4-point perspective. And you will learn how to correctly proportion and scale your subjects relative to where they are on their perspective, as well as how to create depth with overlapping objects. This is also where you should start copying landscapes, like learning what parts of the landscape are the background, midground, and the foreground. Once you learn and understand these aspects of perspective, you pretty much can be done with learning perspective. Another skill that you will be learning at this level is gestural drawing. Since you learn the basics of anatomy in level 2, you have moved up to drawing figures quickly with some movement and expression. Almost like making your sketches come to life. You want to practice making your lines expressive, having confidence in your lines, and exaggerating dynamic poses. Another thing to practice in your gestural drawing is gestural perspective. I don't know if you can actually look up gestural perspective here on YouTube, but basically you're combining complex shapes with your gestural drawings, and typically you don't need to do the whole body if you don't want to. You could just focus on the torso. And when I was learning how to draw gestural perspective, I would take like the torsos and turn them into a bean and make them squish or stretch depending on the pose. You also want to keep in mind where the torso is facing and what the perspective is on that reference you're using. At the top of level 3, your visual library should be at the point where you can draw your ideas more accurately, as well as being able to see movement and express it on a piece of paper. Now you have reached a level 4, and this is the level where you are pretty darn good at drawing. And most people who have gotten to this level of drawing typically stay at this level, and this is because level 4 takes the longest in order to level up to level 5. So at this level, I recommend getting a teacher or a mentor of some kind. If you are at level 3 or below, you do not need a teacher because you can learn whatever you need to learn here on YouTube or just on the internet in general. But level 4 is a little bit tricky because now you're getting into the basics of shading and lighting. And this actually encompasses both drawing and painting, because now you're going to be getting into color, because color is also part of shading and lighting. And color in itself is a whole nother beast, and that's why I recommend a teacher, because it would make your life easier and you would probably level up faster. Okay, so the basics of shading: cross-hatching, hatching, stippling, and blending. And these 4 are all with a pencil, so I recommend starting with shading with a pencil. You're going to first start with copying just the dark shadow parts of your reference, and you're going to be trying out those 4 different shading methods. You also want to observe where the light is hitting and how many lights there are, as well as bounce lights. Also at this level, you will be diving into the basics of composition. And this is actually your first real step into dipping your little toes into design. So for composition, you want to learn the rule of thirds, balance, like asymmetrical balance versus symmetrical balance, focal point, contrast, like dark versus light, framing, harmony, and repetition. You will also learn advanced anatomy, like the bones and the muscles, where they are, what they're called, the location, how they look, how they move. For anatomy of the face, you'll delve more into the planes of the face and breaking down tissues of the face like the skull, muscles, fat, and skin. This is also where you'll start learning the basics of color theory. This includes warm versus cool shading, saturation versus chroma versus value, and some basic color schemes like monochromatic, complementary, split complementary, analogous, triadic, and tetradic. I also recommend at this level to start painting, because you can learn shadows, color, and composition all at the same time while you're learning how to paint. So it's kind of like a shortcut. So level 4 really takes your observational skills to the next level. It's like taking the red pill in the Matrix, because once your eyes open up and you start seeing like the shadows and the lighting all around you, you're literally outside of the Matrix at that point. Like, y'all, I kid you not, I distinctly remember when my eyes opened up for the first time. I was like walking around outside or something, and I looked down at my shadow, and I realized it was a tint of blue compared to like the sun that was on the pavement next to it, and my mind was just blown. So little things like that will happen to you throughout this level, so enjoy the wild experience. Level 4 actually bleeds into level 5, so you don't really know when you've reached level 5 till like you're like halfway in it. You'll know when you're at level 5 when you have that light bulb moment, when you realize that level 3 was so long ago and it feels super basic, almost like you can breathe. That's when you'll know you're at level 5. So at this level, you'll be learning advanced shading, and you will also be learning how color is used for shading. And this also ties into advanced color theory. So you'll learn like exposure of color, overexposed versus underexposed versus correct exposure. You will also learn atmospheric perspective as well as subsurface scattering and different light scenarios like twilight versus afternoon versus a sunset versus moonlight. You will also learn advanced composition like negative space, complexity versus simplicity, point of view like where the camera is. You will also learn compositions like the gold mean and Fibonacci numbers. as well as figure ground relationship and dynamic symmetry. You will also learn Gestalt, which is a compositional theory based off the presumption that humans prefer to group things together rather than having them separate. So composition at this point pretty much turns into human psychology. And at level 5, you'll also get into polishing, aka how to render. So think of rendering like you're taking everything you know about light, color, shading, texture, and form, and then like smashing it all together for every single part of your drawing or painting. That's rendering. And it's very complex because you're combining both technical skills and aesthetic. This level, like level 4, also takes a while to level up just because there is so much to learn. So don't get too discouraged and just embrace the process. Okay, so now at level 6, this is where most beginner professionals are at. So you've got some really good skills and you're starting to learn how to do commissions and get client work and maybe get paid for the art that you're doing. This level is actually the very first one that is not technical based. This is the exploration phase, baby. So at this level, you want to figure out what you want to do with your skills. Do you want to pursue oil painting portraits for clients or user interface graphics for video games or something? So in order to figure out what you want to do to make money with your art, you kind of gotta explore and experiment with all different aspects of art and drawing. So in order to figure out what you want to do, you gotta try a lot of different stuff. It can be as broad as like different mediums or tools, or as small as different art processes. Typically, most people at this level don't know what to do with their skills. So what I recommend is figuring out what you really liked doing when you got into drawing in the first place. For me, when I got into drawing was when I was designing superheroes and magical characters. That was a big indicator for me that I should pursue something design focused. And now here I am years later getting paid to design really cool stuff. So once you figured out what gets you so excited about drawing or just art in general is when you've leveled up to level 7. So level 7 is pretty much the reverse of level 6 because now instead of experimenting with everything, you are now honing in and specializing on one thing. So you are going to want to focus on what you do really well and try to improve it to like crazy standards. You're going to focus on honing your skills, both improving technically and professionally. So like gaining project experience as well as going back to the basics and really nailing some of those things that you really sucked at. Also at this level, this is where people will really start paying you for your expertise, and you'll pretty much know what people will want from you and how to best work with them. Another special aspect about level 7 is that you will learn some additional skills that kind of tie into your specialization. And because of these additional skills, they'll help strengthen your bond with clients as well as land more jobs because you now know how to do more stuff. For me specifically, I expanded into vectorizing graphics, animating, and video editing because that's what clients were also searching for while I was doing design work for them. So in the beginning of level 7, really embrace where you are and take in as many opportunities as you can because the more you learn, and the more experience you get, the better you will be and the more your options for the future broaden. Another thing I forgot to mention about this level is that you are getting your art process, design process down to like a T. And this is so that you can pump out stuff even faster so that you have more time to learn even more skills to go with your specialization. Level 7 is the level I am currently at. And to be honest with y'all, I have been struggle busted. Like, consistency is super important and it's just hard to figure out what to prioritize every single day. When you're at level 7, it's kind of hard to figure out how you want to specialize, you know? Because you can have like a passion for design or like storytelling, and then there's just so many different avenues you can take that passion and really make a career out of it. It's kind of scary to just pick one and then jump feet first in and hope for the best. But that's life for you. If it wasn't a surprise, it would be very boring. Okay, so the last and final level of the boss level, a level 8. And I like to call this level a Da Vinci level because he is a great example of what a boss drawing level is. So what is drawing level 8? Well, at this level, you are applying your drawing skills masterfully. where you have pretty much figured out your voice and you aren't questioning your specialization. Or you get to the point where your drawing skills can be applied to an alternative field. Da Vinci was this kind of artist, okay? He was so good at drawing and he applied that to like his observations and his scientific research as well as his inventions in engineering. Like this dude invented a helicopter and a parachute. At this level, you will typically see most professors or art teachers just because they've already figured it out and can now just teach other artists because they know what they're doing. You could probably also say that these art teachers are like the psychologists for drawing because they understand drawing in like crazy depths as well as like the human psyche and what makes people do stuff because composition and design wise and like aesthetics. But most people at level 8 don't fall into level 8. Like it takes a really long time and it's a long process in order to figure out who you are and what you specialize in. I would also consider level 8 being like the second awakening in your drawing skills because the first awakening was kind of like in level 4 and level 5, and so now the second is in level 8. In my opinion, I think most artists before reaching level 8 end up having like some midlife crisis or something because they start to think, how do I want to impact the next generation after me? So they either create something that's like super meaningful or impactful, or they just invest into the younger generation. Level 8 in a sense is like the opposite of level 7 because level 7 is so internally focused. Level 8 is like externally focused because you're giving back. So I think most artists who reach level 7 actually end up reaching level 8 because it's just, I don't know, it's a natural progression in my opinion. I'm actually really looking forward to getting to level 8 because it sounds way less anxiety driven and just more fulfilling. I guess it's just something to look forward to, you know? So what drawing level are you? And to those of you who don't want to stick around to my life update portion of this video, now is your cue to leave. I will see you in the next video. Okay, so y'all deserve to know where I have been these past 5 months. And I also have a question for y'all regarding this channel too. So first of all, nothing bad has happened. Mostly all good things have been happening. TLDR, I've been busy. And I hate saying that because I definitely put you guys on the back burner and you definitely don't deserve it. But let me tell you what I've been up to after I ghosted y'all. Okay, first of all, I got a part-time job, which is super exciting because the economy sucks and I really needed it. And my client work has been increasing both with existing and new clients, which I am so thankful for. And the last one has been a little bit more recent, like last month recent. So I joined a team to make Counter-Strike skins and we released 3 skins in the collection with more skins to be released this month. So it's been all around exciting. But I haven't made time to make videos for y'all. And I think the biggest reason is that I've just been overthinking the videos that I do make. Because I'm like, oh, they gotta be super well edited and like really entertaining. And but it takes a long time to make one of these videos. Like for the color theory tutorial and the CS2 skin tutorial, like both of those took a month each to make. So my question to you is, did you enjoy watching this style of video that you are watching right now? Because like I would love to make more videos. It's just like the hardcore tutorial videos take up so much time and I won't be able to till like in January because of so many projects I have left this year. So are y'all down for more of this style of videos or are they just too boring? Let me know. Okay, that's it. Let me know your opinions in the comments and I will see you in the next video.